My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, we're heading to the position of offensive line as Ryan Andrews is joining us from Southington High School. Ryan, thanks so much for being able to come on today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it's a pleasure to be able to have an offensive lineman because typically I talk to cornerbacks, running backs, quarterbacks, but I never get to talk to, and I mean this in the most polite way, the big uglies. So it's a pleasure to be able to have somebody who plays that position, man.
I mean, I'm sure more linemen would love to be on because there's not much spotlight for us. So if you ever reached out to more of them, I'm sure they'd want to be on your show.
And you guys deserve a lot of credit for what, you know, the position and what you guys really have to do. Everyone talks about, oh, how many yards did Lamar Jackson have? Or what did, you know, because my team's the Cowboys. So what did Zeke Elliott do running? But they never talk about Zach Martin at the guard position, or now the retired Travis Frederick, who, in my opinion, if he kept playing, he was a Hall of Famer. Those guys kind of paved the way, you know?
Well, like last year, we had an amazing running back, Dylan Cole, but the anchor of our offense to me was Jacob Vecchio, one of our captains. He was the left guard that played next to me. He knew football like the back of his hand. He was a mental whiz. No matter what you asked him about our playbook, he knew exactly what he was talking about.
You know, and that's something we'll talk about too later on about that. Now, tell me about kind of how did your football career begin? Were you know, I've heard from multiple athletes that have told me that they played other sports before football. Others said they played football first and then other sports came after. How was it for you?
I started playing baseball when I was really little, and then in fourth grade, I started playing football. I think it was fourth grade. I started playing in Bristol because me and my parents lived there at the time, and I played for the Bulldogs. That's me and my quarterback played together there. Actually, we played in Bristol before Southington together, but I played for them until seventh grade, and then my seventh grade year, I went to Southington, and I started playing for the midget team in town, and then went to high school from there.
Now, were you always an offensive lineman, or were you on the defensive side too?
I've played both, but I've always been an offensive lineman from the start.
Have you always been like a big kid in stature? Because you look like you know, just by watching the video, you look like a college level offensive lineman already, and you're still in high school.
I appreciate that, but yeah, I've always been a pretty big kid. I was like, I've always been like one of the tallest in my class. Now I'm like maybe middle of the pack because people are growing again. But
middle of the pack, what are they feeding you guys in Southington? Are you guys all huge?
I mean, there's a lot of tall kids in my school. Yeah, there's quite a few that are above 6'3".
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
God bless you guys. I'm only 6 foot, so God bless you guys. Now, tell me about your first, you know, your freshman year of high school, because I know a lot of times with, you know, players, they kind of, some are nervous, some are just like, it's whatever. It's a sport that I love. I just want to go out and play. How was it for you?
Knowing that I had people there was 2 midget leagues in our town, and knowing that I had friends coming from both sides to play with me at the high school, I felt like it was going to be easy because the freshman team really doesn't mingle with the JV and varsity. So when you're on the freshman team, that's a whole different football team. And we had great coaching. All our coaches, we bonded with all our coaches. Our teammates were all great. We had a great time. So it wasn't really hard to transition to high school football because the way that Coach Jury has it all set up from the bottom up, it's immaculate, basically. You can't change what he does because it's perfect.
When were you a varsity starter, you know, as a freshman, or did it take a little while?
My junior year was my first year starting.
Really?
Yeah, I got playing time my sophomore year, like towards the end of games. I wasn't starting, but I would go in here and there. But freshman year, I was strictly on the freshman team. Sophomore year is basically all JV, and then last year I started my first time.
Now, do you feel like that was a benefit for you that it took, you know, so long for you to get to the varsity level because maybe you were still raw at the offensive line position?
Definitely, because the way the talent goes in our state, there's a lot of good D linemen, and it took a while for me to get to where I needed to be strength-wise and with our playbook. So
Mhm.
having those 2 years beforehand to be able to learn from the older generations, it was a lot easier for me to jump in my junior year than it would be my freshman year and not knowing what I was doing. It was just easier to understand what I had to do when I got out there after waiting a little bit.
Now, getting away from the weight aspect and trying to get stronger, what did you have to work on as far as your game before you became a starter as a junior? Was it the footwork? Was it the hand placement? What
It,
was it?
it usually I would go to the I'd go to the turf a lot with one of my friends, Sam McCarty. He graduated in 2018, I believe, or 2019. I don't remember. But me and him, we would do footwork a lot. It really, one of my coaches, Coach Mannion, he stressed hand placement a lot. So having him do all those drills, it really helped. And really, one of the most important parts of the game that I really had to develop was the playbook. I just needed time to fully understand what was going on in the playbook. But once I got it, I knew how to use it.
No, let's talk about the playbook a little bit. What do you know for people who are watching this and may not know, an NFL, I almost said NFL, a high school playbook is difficult. Imagine, an NFL playbook.
Yeah.
So what did you have to kind of understand that took you a while? Was it the schematics of it? Was it the language?
It was really like we
Mhm,
have a whole different we run no huddle all the time. Our quarterback gets plays from the signal on the
mhm,
sideline and he calls it to us. But sometimes our coaches will just yell in the high tempo calls when we're trying to drive down the field.
mhm.
And it took me a while to understand which high tempo call was which and what situation we were going to use the high tempo calls in. And once I got that, it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. But it took quite a while to learn everything that I needed to before I was good.
It must have been beneficial that because you mentioned about the left guard that you were next to, and for him to be, basically what sounded like a very smart kid, high
Yeah.
intellectually when it came to football. For you, it must have been a fantastic thing to be next to somebody like that who you can pick their brain or see how they react to certain defensive ends or defensive tackles, especially somebody like yourself who's trying to continuously get better.
Well, he was a 3-year starter, I believe, and he knew the playbook like nobody else. He might have known it better than Coach Drury, to be honest. He he watched so much film every week. He knew everything about every team every week, and it was such a benefit to have him next to me during the game because
Mhm.
if I had to check my protection and I didn't know what to do, he was right there next to me the whole time. So he kept me in check. He honestly made me a better player every time I was out there.
Is there anything that you took from him? Was it the video aspect of watching film? Was it his technique? Was it the way he went about his business? What's the one thing, and I'm sure there's a lot you took from him, but what's the one thing that you could say is the most beneficial that you took from him?
It was the way that as a captain, he kept our whole O line together. We say that you got to play like a fist, all five pieces together, and he really got us all together every week, and he played his heart out, and he just it was a good thing to see.
Really? See, I like
Yeah,
that thing. Play with a fist, all five. I like that. That makes sense because offensive line. It
yeah,
makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Now,
Dogfight.
yeah, yeah, because you guys are really because like we mentioned earlier about how the offensive line position is not really appreciated as much just because everyone likes the skill positions, the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, the running backs, even on the defensive side. They love the J.J. Watts and Brandon Carr when he was good like 10 years ago, but no one ever talks about the offensive lineman because I mean I see it but the normal people who, are just watching the game, they don't pay attention
Yeah,
to that kind of stuff.
yeah, I know. Which I don't know how you would go about it, but I think there needs to be a little culture change because if you really look at offensive linemen, to
Mhm.
me, that's the most interesting part of the game. Like, I would not want to play any other position than O line. It's the most fun thing that I've ever experienced. Like,
You
I
know,
enjoy running routes and stuff at practice, but O line, there's nothing that touches it.
ever since I've started watching football when I was a kid, I've kind of, there's certain positions that I've always been intrigued by. the running back position, cornerback, and offensive line, and particularly for offensive line, because I like to see how, how does an offensive line from quarter to quarter adjust to the defense, but also how they wear them down. Because, again, I hate to mention my Cowboys because I don't know who's your favorite football team.
The Giants.
Giants. Oh, okay, well, I apologize. I keep
Yeah.
mentioning the Cowboys, but the years
That's
that they
okay.
had, the years they had a great offensive line, I would see like Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Frederick, and then when they had O'Leary before he went to the Broncos,
Yep.
those guys, they would just bear down and they would wear down a defense for four
Hmm.
quarters, and then they would let whoever was the running back, they would just eat. And I think for you guys as an offensive line, you're so integral to a game because the longer that you wear down the defense, your offense is on the field. Thus, the running backs and the wide receivers are getting their yards. Thus, team is able to win the game, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, as an offensive lineman, I could see throughout the game how if we had one little slip up, there was no way we were being successful on that drive.
Mm-hmm.
We had to play immaculately for the people around us to be able to do their job. And it presented itself every game. There'd be one slip up and we would not score that drive. And I could see clearly, hey, if we did not slip up, we would have been fine. So, I mean, not to say that the whole game revolves around us, but a big part is the five guys in the middle that are blocking for everyone else.
In your first 3 years at Southington, you've gotten better each and every year. Hence why you're now a varsity starter as a junior, heading
Yeah.
into now your senior year. Tell me about what were the things that you had to work on from your freshman year to your junior year? I know we kind of talked about it, but we really didn't delve into it. So tell me about it.
I honestly watched a lot more film between that
Mhm.
time. I just wanted to see how past past classes have done it on the field and why they were successful. But I also I really enjoy lifting, so whenever we had morning lifts and stuff, I had a group of me and my group of friends, we would just hammer it every morning. We'd make sure that all the reps were done, no matter what, get it all done. And it was really it was really that aspect of it wasn't me doing anything specific. It was having the mindset that I need to do this in order to be successful in the future. So I was lifting, watching film. My coaches would send out quizzes and stuff for plays, get it done, try to get it all right. I just tried to make sure that everything I did would be beneficial for the future.
I like that they were making sure that they were keeping you guys on your toes as far as quizzing you on certain things and trying to
Yeah,
keep your mind going. I like that.
yeah. We have one of the best coaching staffs in Connecticut, in my opinion. Coach Drury, he assembles so many great people together every year. Coach Mannion, last year we had Coach Schiff. He was our O line coach. He was good, and now Coach Mannion's back, who was the O line coach 2 years ago. He's back, and our defensive coordinator is great, Coach Levesque. Just the whole ensemble that Coach Drury has put together is
Mhm.
just there's nothing like it. It's a different environment.
And Southington has been nothing but winning, and it has been for a long, long time. And the talent, before we came on and started this recording, we were just talking about some of the talented players. You've mentioned a couple during this interview. You know, before we kind of go into the schools that are looking at you and kind of what when did you notice that schools were looking at you, I just want to talk about this past season. 9-1 in the regular season, you beat Ridgefield 13-9, and then you lost a hard fought game 21-12 to Darien. Just tell
Yeah.
me about kind of that postseason.
Well, the postseason was honestly probably one of my favorite parts of the season because playing Ridgefield, we were in the snow on our home turf. We were playing a really good team. They had a really good D end. I think he went to Columbia. He was a really good player and he was quick, smart. He knew what he was doing.
Hmm.
But it was a really fun challenge to be able to go up against someone that was one of the best in the state
Hmm.
and to try to prove yourself while blocking that person. There was nothing like it. And having that playoff atmosphere, basically our whole town was in the stands. Like they were all there to watch us.
That's awesome.
It's a different environment when you're out there, and especially when you get that win,
Hmm.
it feels like nothing else. It's like euphoria. That's basically how I can only describe it.
How was the atmosphere, or I shouldn't say atmosphere, but how was the morale after the loss to Darien?
Well, I mean, the morale really, it's not a whole. It kind of kicks you in the butt, but
Mhm,
looking at all the seniors who you know that you bonded with over the past 3 years, and that those kids are leaving, like it was hard to see them go, but it was also nice to know that
mhm,
they were able to at least make it into the playoffs and they got a taste of, all right, let's go do this. We didn't get there, but they got to experience something other than what a lot of kids experience, which is ending the season after your 10 games. So, I mean, it was hard to watch them all go, but it was easier to know that they got a little bit of experience in something that everyone wants.
when I mentioned the morale part, because I know that it's difficult to get to a postseason, and Southington has been, again, one of the top teams in the state for a long, long time. And I know that even though, looking at it from a glass half full aspect, because that's how I look at life and just a lot of things,
Yeah,
there's a lot of you have a lot of young talented players. You're coming back, the quarterback's coming back. You have a lot of guys who can really make a difference, and being able to get that taste allows you guys to say, okay, now we've been there. We competed with a very good Darien team. We
yeah.
were there. We just need to do a little bit more.
I My coach, Coach Drury,
Mhm.
he hounds us about having self-inflicted wounds, which is just mental errors. If we can clean that up, since our team was very young last year, our especially our offense, we were very young last year. So I think this year with the added experience, we're gonna be able to do something special because there's not many teams that have almost a full offensive side that
Mhm.
is coming back for a second year. It's not that doesn't happen everywhere. Usually it's all seniors their last year. I Three of our five linemen were juniors last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Our
And what?
quarterback was a junior.
But
We had a junior receiver, and our one of our tight ends, Shane, was a junior.
what side of the offensive line were juniors besides yourself?
It was me,
Mhm.
the center would interchange between two of my friends, Tommy and Matt, and then the right guard was Luke DeAngelis. He started almost all year.
Those are the important parts: left tackle, center, and right guard. You know.
I mean, they're all important to me,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
I'm just saying, like, the positions depending on the quarterback, you want to have that right side at least in the middle. Center is like the quarterback, and then the left tackle, you're basically the blind side if the quarterback is right-handed.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean to poo-poo on the
Well,
left
I know
guard,
what
right
you mean.
tackle.
I'm just saying, like that. I think they're all important to be honest.
No, they are. I agree with you. I'm just joking with you. That's
Oh
all.
yeah, I know, I know.
So tell me about some of the schools that are looking at you. UConn, Merrimack, Stonehill. Tell me about that.
Well, it really started in a blur. I don't even remember when it started, but a lot of coaches were there. They contacted me on Twitter and then asked for my phone number and all that. The One of the first coaches that actually contacted me though was Coach Corey Edsel from UConn.
Mhm,
He asked me for my number. We texted back and forth. He's a really nice guy. I like him a lot. But it really started with UConn, and then there's Stonehill and Merrimack. Merrimack, their coach that is trying to recruit me. He's really nice,
mhm,
great guy to talk to. Um, then there's a school, Dickinson in Pennsylvania. Their coach is awesome. He's a really nice guy. Um, Really, all the coaches that have talked to me so far, they've all been like outstanding. Like they don't. There's no pushing me. It's like they're talking to me as a person, not as a product that they're gonna have to
mhm.
sell out when I get there.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, yeah, you want to be treated and talked to like you're a human being. You don't want to be treated
Yeah,
like, you know, trying to recruit you, and then as soon as you come in, then you're whatever. I
yeah.
get. That's good though. Is there any, like particular? obviously you want to go to a school that, because again, I've been able to talk to a lot of coaches and players on this show, and a coach in particular who I like to mention a lot. He's the head coach at Benell, Ty Jenkins. He told
Yep.
me he tells his young men that are graduating or looking at colleges but about to graduate. He says look for a school that's not for 4 years but for 40 years. So for you, are you looking at it from a long-term perspective or for a short-term as far as a college?
Whenever a school starts to contact me, I look into their academics because
Mhm.
football doesn't last forever, and you got to have a backup plan. So really, it'll bottle down to who wants me to play there for one, and for two, who has the best academics, who has the best job placement.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, it doesn't last forever, and you need something to be able to fall back on when it's all said and done.
Now, are you trying to stay if you go to UConn, now you're close, you're in Connecticut.
Yeah.
But, you mentioned Merrimack, Stonehill, Dickinson, like, those are a little bit far, so are you willing to go outside the state?
Yeah, I'm definitely willing to go outside the state. It's just those are the schools that have contacted me so far.
Okay.
So it's it's really up to who
Mhm.
looks at me. That's really all it boils down to.
So
If
if
a school,
Alabama contacts you, you're going in there a
yeah, definitely going to Alabama.
Hey,
If I ever see Coach Saban go on my phone, I'm down in Tuscaloosa the next day. There's no question.
hey, they know how to breed offensive linemen, man. They're
Oh
drafting
yeah,
first, second round, I
yeah
feel
they do.
like every year, you know?
Yeah.
But Ryan, I really do appreciate you coming on, be able to talk about some offensive line and yourself. I just have one more question for you. What is the main thing, for yourself? I know for the team, the aspect is win a championship, but for yourself, what do you want to do individually that you think would benefit the team?
I really want to try to be a pillar of leadership for my team this year. I'm gonna run for captain. I want to see if I can get it, and if I do, I just want to be that person that all the younger people can look up to and that can understand this is what you're supposed to be when you play football. You're supposed to I'm gonna go as hard as I can all the time, go all out, and make sure that the people around me see that and understand that that's what you're supposed to do every day because that's what the people before me showed me. That's why Southington football is so successful because all the leaders are just balls to the wall, 100 miles an hour every day, no matter what. And that's really all I want to be for the younger generation.
I think it's, you've worked hard, you've paid your dues, you've understood that what work you had to get done, and now you're getting the fruits of your labor. And, hopefully there will be a season this virus can get away and we can kind
Yeah.
of get back to somewhat normalcy. And, I wish you nothing but the best of luck your senior year. And hopefully the next time we talk, you're telling me that you made captain. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping to. All right. Thank you for having me.
No problem, buddy. I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.